Change is definitely a great place to start, I think, in terms of looking at anxiety and fear and what we can do in working through our own anxieties about change. So, if we're going to bring it down to just two words, I'm going to say that we fear abandonment and we fear helplessness. And so, I want to look at those two things in terms of change. And if we were able to say, well, every change and everything that I'm feeling anxious about is somehow related, probably, as I said, to either my fear of some sort of abandonment, some sort of disconnection, or feeling like I'm separated in some way rather than feeling like I'm with the flow of things. Or it's the fear of helplessness and that feeling of I don't have control, I don't have any say or any impact. These things, I think, are actually at the soul level of ourselves. And that's why I think we're meant, all of us, to address fears and then not let it get to the points of anxiety, but even if it does, to bring it back down to fear. And then to say, well, fear is simply the aspect of I don't know what's on the other side. I don't know what comes next. I don't know how this is going to play out. I don't know how I'm going to show up and how I'm going to manage. And then we can bring it back to what can we do to first be with ourselves in that kind of unknowing and that kind of vulnerability, because that has to be the first step. You know, when I talk about my framing process, F is the very first thing, and that's always you've got to be able to just fumble around with your feelings. Your feelings are valid, and you're just there in that not knowing. But so importantly, we have to be able to actually acknowledge that. We have to say that to ourselves. At least that's my experience. I've got to be able to say, I don't know what this is going to look like, or I don't know what is happening right now, and I want to come back to my own sense of steadiness and my own sense of settledness. And in times like that, what I've noticed is that I'm trying to ask myself, how am I going to show up in the role that I've put myself into now, in this new scenario, in this new experience with new things that are coming into play? How do I keep showing up? And if there are any roles that I've put myself into, you know, just from the time you're a child, you play certain roles. You step in because you feel like you're supposed to keep the peace, or whatever your particular roles are that you have done and you've done so well. I think a huge part of anxiety is when we say, I don't know if I can keep this up. I don't know how to be in this role now. So we have two choices, and both of them should be respectfully considered. We have to be able to say, okay, if this is still an important role that I want to play in how I show up to other people and how I, you know, keep the peace or something, then how do I do that successfully? Because the anxiety comes so much from not thinking that you're going to be able to do it because people are like pushing harder on you and, you know, this is becoming too much. Or you can look at the idea that maybe it's time to take a look at this unrealistic role that I put myself in that now I have to redefine. It's okay, and that's the whole point of pivoting, is to say, what does it look like now? Because maybe when you can say, I get to decide that. And if I do that with the intention to keep balance for myself, and if that means I need to put in some boundaries that are new to other people, even new for me, but at the same time, they support me being steady and still showing up the way I want to show up in life, but doing so with less needing to save the situation and do for all other people while I'm neglecting myself, because that's a huge imbalance right there, then you'll be able to discern what kind of communication is needed as you start to say, you know, this is where I'm being led. This experience is teaching me to deal with change in a way that I never thought about before. And it's making me less anxious because I'm defining what it can look like now. And even though we're going to be dealing with changes that we're being hit with, and maybe I've always been the one to immediately step in and handle things so that nobody has to feel that pinch, that's okay. Now I'm changing up how I am playing the role. I'm defining myself in a new role that allows for others to be included in making this work. So that's all I have for today in this first video on change. Anyway, have a great day, whatever you're doing. I hope that you feel empowered and steady, and I'm glad that you're here. Give me any comments. Let me know if you liked this with a thumbs up, and let's keep the conversation going. Take care. I'll talk to you next time.